Welcome to the number one marketing podcast in the world. This is the HasMedia Podcast. I got a special guest for you guys today, John Dougherty, right?
Correct.
Because everybody says Dougherty.
Yeah, you got the pronunciation correct. One of few.
So John is the owner of now 6 locations, gym locations.
About to be 6. We just got our lease for the 6th one.
And it's I always look up to you and what you've been doing and just grinding, and I think it's you basically you show what the entrepreneurial route is and just never giving up and just always pushing to the next level. So it wasn't always like that, right?
For sure.
And so I guess how we start this podcast is usually we get into the start of your entrepreneurial journey. What were you doing before, and what made you get into business?
For sure. Yeah, so started off, I opened my first gym in 2019, so 6.5 years ago. But prior to that, I had went to college for physical therapy. So I went undergrad kinesiology first, and then went to school for physical therapy. Did physical therapy full-time for about 5 years before I opened my first gym. And really had always wanted to be a business owner. That was always the game plan. And honestly, coming out of school, my original plan was only to work for a year and then open my own physical therapy clinic. But just different things happened. I was living up in the DC area where I went to school, had moved down to Texas, and so needed to get a job and work for a couple of years before opening kind of my own thing. And so initially, the game plan for me, even when I was probably 16 initially and had thought about doing physical therapy, always planned to...
You can raise this up.
Yeah. I always planned to own my own business, either a physical therapy clinic or gym or combination of the two. And that was kind of always the game plan. And originally was going to do physical therapy first just because it's way less risk. Could get one room, 500 square feet, one table, slowly build up the business. But then as I started doing business plans, realized that physical therapy just wasn't super profitable, and I'd be taking on all of this risk, no guaranteed income, not really necessarily have the opportunity to make more money. So I looked more into what if I just went more into the fitness side, discovered the small group personal training model. I thought this is cool. I could take my background in physical therapy, make something unique. And that's basically what I did when I decided to jump all in, do my first gym about 6.5 years ago. And that was crazy. It was a crazy risk. I remember at the time when I opened in a city that I did not live in. I had no potential clients. I knew nobody. I knew nothing about business, marketing, sales, anything like that. And just took the leap and just had to figure it out as I went. And it was super scary. Slowly learned things along the way very quickly. Had to jump into obviously just reading a tons of books, podcasts, etc., trying to learn the ins and outs of marketing and sales and everything like that. Just learning the ropes through experience, and basically started to figure things out over the first year. Still wasn't making any money, and then COVID hit 2020, and at that point I basically said, look, I'll die before I fail. I got to figure this thing out. And so it just pivoted, changed the business model 100 times until we could figure out how to make some money. Part of the biggest change at that time was I went from doing large group training to more one-on-one, selling in bigger packages, started to get better at sales. That basically got us through COVID, through the next year. And then after that, we started to expand the one-on-one model, the group model, grow from there. And then really a year and a half ago was when I decided to start expanding, kind of getting into my next big goal, big vision. Because my original goal was to build $1 million gym in 10 years. That was what I deemed would be successful. Yeah. And we were able to do that in 5 years. And then I was like, okay, what's my next 10-year goal? What's the next goal that I'm willing to work, 80, 90, 100 hours a week for, not make any money, just to make that thing happen? What's that thing that would get me excited and motivated? And so for me, that was to build 100 gyms in the next 10 years.
That's
so
awesome.
That's the big goal that I started working on a little over a year and a half ago. And now we've got working on the 6th location right now. And it definitely has been, I think I spoke into existence the idea of what if I don't make any money for the next 10 years and just figure out this big vision, because that's kind of what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
But it is it's been a crazy learning process. It's kind of like starting all over again.
Yeah.
And
it's scary.
It's scary. It's frustrating, but it's exciting at the same time. I think I was talking to my best friend a couple weeks ago, just talking about business stuff and just feeling frustrated and everything like that. And one of the things I was telling him is, the whole reason why I got into like the entrepreneurship space in the beginning was that, and the reason that I love it is I feel like there is no greater path of personal development than entrepreneurship. Like
100%.
Looking back 6.5 years ago, I had almost none of the skills that I have now. Like the ability to even do public speaking and stuff like that. Like I've spoken in front of 150 people in rooms. Like I'm going to be on the Perform Better speaking tour like this upcoming year.
That's
like
sick, man.
All of this crazy stuff. I wouldn't want to speak in front of 2 people. I'd be terrified to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, from sales, I'd never sold anything in my life. Had no idea how to sell. Now I'm like a master salesperson, teaching other gym owners how to sell. Like all these things, all of these skill sets, there's zero chance I would have any of these if I was just working a 9 to 5.
Oh, 100%. Me and my brother always talk about how if some reason the business ended up falling apart tomorrow and we lost all our clients, like we can pick right back up and start something else. And
For sure.
And you start with a crazy amount of skill sets that you never had before. Like we were talking before the podcast, but just being able to, excel at your skill in sales and marketing and, doing the day-to-day, creating systems, it takes a long time. And I think when people get into entrepreneurship in the beginning, it's, I'm going to make all this money and, it's going to be so easy. And you learn right away that you get smacked in the fucking face. And it's just like, holy shit, what the hell did I sign up for? You know what I mean? I want to start off with like the beginning path for you, because I want to segment this podcast into like a couple different like revenue like cycles, right? So the first thing is like going from 0 to $1 million. You did it in 5 years, and having a vision is super important, right? Like you have to go towards something. If you don't have anything to go towards, like where the hell are you going, right? What was like the few skills that you had to learn and put together on that journey to $1 million? What was like, maybe you were talking about like reading books and stuff. Like what was one book that impacted you that was like, oh shit, like I get it,
For sure. Yeah, well, I think you definitely hit on the most important thing is the vision. Like you have to have a very clear vision, a very clear goal. And I mean, I remember mid-COVID, it was like summer of 2020, and I had this meeting with, at the time I had 2 part-time trainers. It was me and 2 part-time trainers. Had a meeting, sat there, and I basically had this BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal that I presented to them, how we were going to build $1 million gym. Now, keep in mind, we're not even profitable right now.
Yeah.
We're mid-COVID. 90% of businesses are closed.
Yeah.
Gyms are closing left and right. And I'm sitting there like with a detailed plan of how we're going to build $1 million gym. And like, I mean, I think the audacity to have that type of vision is like, that's how it comes true. Number one is like, you have to be willing to have like a fearlessness in the face of adversity and have a big vision that you want to drive towards, even if it seems impossible. So I think, the vision is paramount, because you can build all the skills that you need, but if you don't have a direction in where you want to go and how you're going to get there, it's never going to happen. So definitely the vision. But in terms of the skill set, I think really to be successful in any business, there's 3 skills. It's marketing, sales, and leadership. Like those are the 3 things that you need to get really good at. And if you get good at marketing, sales, and leadership, you can make money in any business. That is not a industry specific thing. And I feel like that is, to your point of like, oh, this could all go away and tomorrow we could open up something different and be successful. It's because of like those skill sets.
100%.
So I think in the path to $1 million, I would say that it's really just becoming honestly just proficient in those 3 areas. Like you don't need to be amazing in any of them to get to $1 million a year in revenue. But you need to become, I would say, highly proficient in those areas. And so on the marketing side, I think, marketing is probably like the greatest fear that needs to be solved for any business owner, especially when you start. Because the biggest fear that any business owner has is you open the doors and nobody comes.
100%.
Like that is the number one fear that keeps people up at night when they're saying, should I go out on my own and do this thing? And the number one fear is that, okay, well, I've got it. I've got the LLC. I've got the building. I put the sign up out front and nobody's coming.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And so I very quickly had to learn how to get people in the door. And so I think
I have a business.
Yeah. I think, there's so many lessons just on the marketing side, but in terms of like some of the books, one of the things that I went really deep down the direct response marketing, Dan Kennedy rabbit hole early on. I probably read 10 of Dan Kennedy's books the first year in business. And for anybody who has not, absorbed any of Dan Kennedy's stuff and you're a business owner in any realm of marketing, like absolutely need to do it. Because I think really, and my introduction to Dan came from Vince, my business coach, where once I learned about Dan Kennedy and direct response marketing, that was the first time that I learned the differences between marketing like a big business, like a Ford or McDonald's or, a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company versus, a small brick and mortar, mom and pop type shop. And the idea that like branding is very different for a mom and pop shop versus, a McDonald's, right? McDonald's can put up a billboard with a kid on a swing and, just put the McDonald's arches and you see the kid smiling. Like there's not even fries or a burger or anything, right? But like you drive by on the highway and they know that if 1 million people drive by, they're associating McDonald's with happy kids. And then like they make that association and that's going to want them to go to McDonald's. Like,
and buy a Happy Meal.
Yeah, correct. I do that as Conquer Fitness. I put up a billboard of like, a smiling dad. Like nobody's coming.
What the fuck is that guy?
With the Conquer logo. Like nobody's coming to the gym.
Yeah.
So like you need a direct response approach, which is basically like you have a specific offer for a specific avatar. You have some type of constraint, which makes it much more desirable, right? So it's either like time constraint or availability, right? We've only got 10 spots available. This offer ends on Tuesday, and this is for 40-year-old men who live in this town, whatever it might be, right? It's a very specific avatar where, the person who's consuming it says, oh my God, they're talking about me. And then they're going to want to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to learn more about your particular service. And I think that is something that every small business owner needs to get really good at.
100%, dude.
Speaking to their ideal client, so that whether you put out a video on social media, you write an email, you put up a flyer, anybody that sees that thing says, oh my God, they're talking about me. And like that's the first goal of marketing is to get your ideal avatar to raise their hand and say, tell me more about your stuff.
100%. And I think you brought up a good point with the Dan Kennedy aspect. A lot of business owners think that just throwing up their logo on a banner or a billboard or a scoreboard, I had a client that we're about to onboard, and he was showing me packages for a gym, Health Quest, that offers marketing internally for, different businesses.
Sure.
And he was looking at, a $4,000 package that was just going to get his brand on the TVs, be able to market himself like on a tent when they have events and stuff. But I had to bring him back down to reality, and it's just, there's levels to marketing, right? So if there was another package that was $8,000, right? But that $8,000 package gets you access to 2 different companies. One is called the Diamond. It's like the Diamond Club or something like that, which is it's a baseball team. Okay. They have like 40,000 plus emails on there.
Yeah.
So you get 2 email sends a year, direct marketing, and then you get access to 10,000 people directly to HealthQuest, and you can send 1 email a month. And I'm like, you're going to spend the $4,000 to show your logo, but nobody knows you. Mm-hmm. Or you can spend the $8,000, and now you're creating direct response email marketing towards the ideal customer that you're looking for and telling them, hey, I'm here. If you come in, I'm going to give you a discount, right? Your job as the business owner is to speak in the beginning stages. I'm learning this very quickly now too, is like, you have to speak to your customer directly in the beginning. You got to create a buzz around your shop, right? Or your place of business. And then eventually when people start to know you and you create this, 1,000 people, 2,000 people come into your business, which is, it's not tomorrow or next month, right?
For sure.
Then you can start doing maybe local visual, like billboard ads or whatever, right? So everybody thinks that just because they have a brand logo that they can just throw it up and people are going to know who they are. Like, I always explain it this way, like no one gives a fuck, like at all about how nice your logo is, how fancy you look. Vince says it all the time. I learn so much from Vince just meeting with him once a week, but like they don't care about the equipment that you have. It's 100%. The experience and the service that you're giving that customer, right? And if you can create a buzz around that in the beginning and grow your clientele, eventually you can start to use those different channels. And just like you're doing now with opening up multiple gyms, for you to have a billboard in Philadelphia, it doesn't make sense. But if you have 20 locations in, let's say, Austin, right? And you do 1 billboard targeted in Austin, now that makes sense. For sure. Because it's like you're showing visibility.
100%. And I think like at the stage where we're at right now, like just starting this expansion process, having 5-6 locations, like I am starting to do a little bit more branding, hyper local branding, but like there is starting to be brand recognition where like people will call in or they'll comment and say like, hey, when is there going to be a Conquer in this city? Like, do you have a Conquer here? Like the brand itself is getting recognition around like we do this specific thing really well, like we are the best at helping people over 40 who want to lose weight, get stronger, build muscle, et cetera, right? Like we're becoming that in this hyper-local market in multiple cities in the DFW area. So we start now, it's like, but if we look at from a client acquisition front, we are still acquiring, let's say 98% of clients from direct response marketing, 100%. Not from branding. Now, like, as we go to 20 locations and 25 and 50 and 100, now that percentage will start to slide where like the branding element goes from 2 to 5% acquisition to maybe 10 to 15 to 20 to 25. But like because of the nature of the business, it will always be more of a direct response marketing element that I would say the majority will probably still always be direct response because unlike, let's say, a national gym chain that is where people just go and work out, like a LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness, like that doesn't necessarily need to be sold because that's a $25 a month, $30 a month membership. And people are just looking at it as a commodity. Oh, this one's $30. Or LA Fitness is $30 a month, 24-hour fitness is $25 a month. I'll go to 24-hour fitness. It's $5 cheaper, right? But like we're selling a service that needs to be sold, which is $400, $500, $600 a month or more, depending on, you know, what it is. And so,
and if your lifetime value on that customer, let's say is a year, that's a $5,000, $6,000 package that you're selling.
Absolutely. And like, but if you think about from a direct response marketing element is, you know, that's something that does need to be sold, and you want much more of a client specific avatar that you're speaking to with a direct offer to get them to opt in and say, yes, I need that, as opposed to, you know, more of like the branding element is still going to be, we can leverage that, because what's going to happen and is happening now is as we're growing to multi-location, now where branding plays a role is us versus another larger franchise type brand. So like, you know, Alloy Personal Training, they're a franchise now. They've got 100 plus locations.
F45.
F45, Orange Theory, like people are now starting to compare us in the hyper local market to these other brands. And so now we have to differentiate ourselves from them from a branding perspective, saying like, we're a professional organization that can compete with them. We're not just the mom and pop shop. Like we are both the mom and pop shop, and we're a professional organization that is better than these people because
100%.
We can do these things. So we're having to do both now at the same time.
And it's a whole different marketing aspect too. Like you said, I think people get branding wrong all the time. And I think branding comes, you know, it's good in the beginning to have a good logo and all this stuff, but there's a lot of companies that they change their logos, they change their name because they're trying to, you know, speak to a different audience now, right? So, and I always say too, like going back to direct response marketing, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, a very short amount of time, that it only took like 2 to 3 touch points for a customer to turn into a customer, right? Now it takes about like 7 or 8. And I think Russell Brunson said it's like 12 now, right? So when you're thinking about these like TV ads or billboards or, you know, whatever the case may be, or just, you know, using another facility to brand yourself with a logo, like those are just touch points, right? So if you're marketing with advertising, you're marketing with email, you're marketing with organic content, you're blog posting organic content, right? Those are all direct to the consumer. And then all the other things that you're kind of showing them, like, hey, we're here, that's just to be top of mind. So now you're hitting them from like 7 different channels, but that doesn't start like day one, right? I think a lot of like new business owners, because I just wanted this section of the podcast to be like towards that new entrepreneur. It's not how it works. You know, I was talking with my brother because we started doing L10 meetings about like last quarter, and we weren't really getting leads or phone calls. Our website wasn't up. You know, our entire business was word of mouth. And I think there was like 2 things. It's like, okay, if we want more sales, what do I have to do? It's not throwing a logo up on a billboard or like wherever. I have 2 options. Actually 3 options. We either advertise, get cold traffic, we buy a list, completely cold call, or I go knock on doors for the time being until we create a channel that creates lead flow, right? But if I'm just sitting here and doing nothing and hoping to God that somebody walks in the door, it's just never going to happen. And I think there's so many people in every industry that they start a shop and they think just because they built something, just because they put some fancy things together, that people are going to start walking in. No one knows. You know what I mean? Like you don't know. Like,
and I think, you know, this is not even just for the beginner business owner, but really across the board. The most important thing with advertising is a lot of people think about like, how do I differentiate myself from the business down the street? Like, how are we different? All of that. And the thing is, especially as a new business, but for all businesses, the clients do not actually care about how you're different than the other place. All they care about is, how can you help me? Like, the advertising should be about the client, not about you. Like 100%. We're so much better. And this is, again, like you talked about, like for us in the fitness space, like I always teach my directors and anybody doing sales, I'm like, if you hear yourself talking about the equipment we have, specifics of the workouts, rep ranges, and periodization schemes and all this crap, it's like, immediately stop yourself.
Yeah.
The clients do not care. Like, nobody cares about that.
And also, they don't understand.
Yeah, and they don't understand. Correct. Yeah. All they care about is like, can you help me? I'm a 47-year-old mom of 3 who needs to lose 30 pounds, and I've also got some lower back pain. Can you help me? Like, and it's like, so if you start talking about the workouts and the specifics of the exercise, like, that doesn't do anything. But
what have you done before this to help those problems?
Exactly.
And you start the conversation.
All you want to talk about is like, oh, guess what? We've actually got 3 40-year-old moms training with us right now who also have lower back pain, and they're doing a heck of a lot better. They don't have back pain anymore. One's down 15 pounds, the other one's down 27, the other one's down 12, and they've been here for 3, 6, and 9 months. We help people like you all the time. And it's like, oh, you know how to solve my problem.
100%.
That's it. That's all they need to know.
Yeah.
They don't need to know like all of the back end, how you do SEO and how you get more. No, they don't care.
They don't care.
It's like, for you, right? It's advertising, media, right? How do I get more clients? You're helping other businesses get more clients. It's like, oh, you've worked with a business like mine, and they were here and now they're here.
Perfect.
That's it.
Literally.
Oh, you could do that for me too. That's it.
Literally.
Like, that's all they care about. And so I think I'd say probably the biggest challenge for a beginner business owner is that typically you don't have a lot of those success stories, right? It's like, if you got 0 clients, you don't have any success stories to tell about. But one of the things that you could do that you can leverage in that situation is when you are small and it's just you, and maybe you don't have employees or you've got 1 or 2 employees, is like, they have direct line of connection to the owner. Like, that is one of the biggest advantages that you have as a small startup versus like as you grow. Like right now, I've got 6 locations. I've got directors at each location. We've got hundreds of clients at each location. It's like, a client at a random location, they can't just like text me and say, hey, I've got a question about this. Like, they don't have my number. When I first opened, all the clients had my number, right? It's like, they could text me at 11 o'clock at night, hey, like, should I eat this, right? And like, they have a direct line of connection to me. So as a beginner business owner, like, you want to leverage that and say like, hey, you don't gotta, if you go work with those guys, yeah, sure, they've got a little bit more experience, they've got more reputation, but like, can you talk to the owner if there's a problem? No. Like, you can talk to me. Like, you've got direct access to me. That's super valuable. So I think it's super important, like, no matter what stage of business you're at, there's always things that you can leverage in your stage that make you better than the competitor, and that allows you to better solve the problem. Because at the end of the day, it's like, how are we going to solve the problem of the individual coming in, of the potential client or customer? And the more effective way that we can communicate that is how we're going to get more clients and customers.
100%.
It's just the ability to communicate that effectively.
What was that like when you made that transition to open up a second and third location? Like, I think this is another problem. I'll take it to the restaurant industry. My cousin had, they have a restaurant called Nicholas Eatery. My uncle's name is Nicholas. Yeah. And they have a hard time like pulling themselves out because, a client comes in, they're not there. It's like all of a sudden the salad tastes different, or like the soup is not good enough, or whatever. What was that like, transitioning out of that where you had direct client communication to not having, direct client communication? And I know you probably still have communication with some clients, but what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely challenging. I think the most important thing is setting up systems in your business that are not dependent on you, right? So, I mean, the programming and all of that is like, I'm not doing any of that. Like, each of the directors have management over that. But at the same time, there's very clear directives of like guardrails of like, it has to be within this system, right? So they've got some autonomy of how they're creating things, where it's not dependent on me, but at the same time, there's guardrails so that, if I go to one location and I do a workout and I go to another location and do a workout, it's not completely different. They're very similar, but within the context of like that particular facility. So I think that part of it is like, you know, you have to create systems in the business that are scalable and that are foolproof. Like the most important thing with scaling is you can't scale complexity. Like you can only scale simple. So you have to dumb it down and make it so simple that like if you have any element of your business that requires a incredible employee, like, man, if we lose this person, we're fucked. Like, then you can't scale that, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't scale, every location needs to have, you know, whatever, a Tom, because Tom's the greatest, right? It's like, okay, we got to find a Tom for the next one, and then the next one, the next one. Like that doesn't scale.
It's impossible.
Like, but what does scale is like, we've got a foolproof system that like, if we do check all of these boxes, then the client's going to get the result. They're going to be happy. Everything goes smoothly. And so I say on paper, you have to create that system. And then like the hardest part for me that I'm going through right now with having these locations is really maintaining that standard across the board and on an ongoing basis, I think is the challenge, where initially we might set up well, but then it's like, I'm realizing that we need to have a little bit more ongoing touch points on a very regular basis with like boots on the ground, either me or like one of my like leadership team that is there and just making sure that things are happening the way that we want them to. And a lot of that is not necessarily out of, you know, like malice or ill will from the people running that particular location. It's just sometimes it's just lack of reinforcement of the things that we've already talked about.
100%.
So I think part of like our blind spot as a business owner is like, if you tell somebody something once, you think they've got it, which is like 100% not true. Like,
not at all.
You need to tell them 1,000 times and then like,
and 1,000 times more.
Yeah. And then like, and then you don't tell them for a week and then you restart again. And then you know, like
100%.
That, I think that's been, you know, just a little bit of an eye opener that is like, oh man, like we've talked about this 100 times. Like, why aren't you doing that? And then it's like, oh, well, I still need to like reinforce it over and over again and make sure that I'm going there and showing the standard and like, this is what it looks like, you know, this is how it should be done. However, and kind of reteaching. I think reteaching is something that I'm learning that I need to do a little bit more of as we grow and scale, in that I feel like, okay, I've taught this thing, they've got it. And then I realize, you know, 3 months later, 6 months later, it's not happening anymore. It's like, oh, I need to reteach it. I need 100%. To reinforce it. So I think the reinforcement element is huge.
Yeah, and I see that all the time too with like what we're doing and, you know, editing and video production and, you know, marketing and doing all these different, you know, avenues and lanes. Like the employees that we have, it's constant teaching, constant educating, constant being on top of everything. And just knowing that, like, I think you got to pull yourself back as an owner sometimes and come down to reality, because your employees have a life outside of work.
For sure.
For us, that's all it is. Our life is work, because we're building something, right? Sure. So they're not going to remember everything that they learned. They're not going to remember day to day, like to do certain type of thing. And maybe you create SOPs and whatever systems that you want to do, but they have a life outside of it. They're not constantly researching how to do this and how to do that and how to get better and reading self-development books and doing all these things. They're just coming in to do the job, and they could be great at it. They could be okay at it, mediocre at it, and you got to teach them those type of things. But you just got to remember that, like, they're not, like, at the end of the day, there's like how I put it, but they're not your dog, right? They're a human being, right? And they're not living this 24/7. They're living it, majority of the time, it's usually 9 to 5, right? Yeah. And you can't expect the world out of their employees. But one thing that I did take away from, I was watching Dan Martell recently, and he talks about like just like your employees are creating your dream, you got to reciprocate that and try to figure out what their dream is.
For sure.
And try to make that happen, because it's your responsibility as the business owner to lead your team and make what they want out of their life happen. Because if you don't do that, then they're just working this job to a dead end, and maybe they go find somewhere else because now your culture's not good, right?
For sure.
And I did it this week, and I sat down with with a girl that came in for a job opportunity, and I just asked her, I'm like, two things I learned was like, one, I was like, what do you think you're the best at that no one could do better than you? And I learned this from another podcast with one of my other clients. She interviewed this guy that has a massive funding company, 168 employees. So I just took that and I was like, let me run with this. So I said, what's your your greatest skill? Like, no one could do better than you. Like, if somebody came into this room and told you, oh, I know how to do that. Like, I do that really good. Like, in your mind, you're thinking, hell no. Like, I do that better than anybody else. And she told me, like, I can capture angles and scenes better than anybody. I'm like, great. So, like, her skill is in the photography world. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's your greatest weakness? And she's like, well, I don't know if I can hold a camera steady, like, for video. I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to put that person in, like, a video job, right?
Sure.
And then, so that gives me strengths and weaknesses to be able to place that person in where they're going to excel. So that's one. And then two, the second thing was, I was like, because you're going to help me create my dream, and this is, I tell them, this is my dream. Like, I want to build $100 million media company. That's my goal. That's my vision. I was like, what is your dream? Like, in 5 years, in 10 years, what do you want out of your life? And she told me, she's like, I want to be one of the greatest photographers in the world. When people see my pictures, they know that,
yeah,
I did this.
Sure.
And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, now it's my job as the business owner to create that opportunity for her.
For sure.
Right. And yes, she's going to have to do the nitty gritty things with my business, but because I'm thinking about it in a psychological way and an emotional way, but if you make your employees' dreams happen, they're going to go above and beyond for you. 100%. Right. And like, I love that, because that makes me happy as a business owner.
For sure.
And I was, actually, I tested that out with one of our editors. He really wants to get into film, and like, he wants to make a film. And I was like, all right, cool. So in the beginning, he was, just kind of doing the job, whatever. And then I just started kind of telling him, like, look, you stay after, you finish what you got to finish. We'll sit down and we'll start creating scenes together. And like, I'll pitch it to, there's a restaurant over here that's like an iconic restaurant. Yeah. It's like, we'll pitch it to them. And I know the owner. So I did. He said yes. He ended up knowing the marketing girl that works there. So now we're going to do a shoot with them like next Monday. But now he's like, I'm not saying like, you have to be here till 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, like all day. But now it's fun. Sure. Right. Yeah. Now it's enjoyable for them, because they're like, damn, like, I'm going to make a film. Like, I'm going to do this. Right.
100%. And
I feel like owners, a lot of the times, it's like they lose that like perception of like, oh no, I'm paying them $30 an hour, $25. They have to do what I tell them to do. It's like, no, that's not how it works, man. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's just eye-opening, and like, I it's a huge mindset shift, and it goes back to leadership. And how is that, because the question's going to come back to you, but how did you instill that culture for your guys, and like, being able to open up, like, you can't just open up 6 locations. That doesn't happen overnight, right? Yeah. You have to have a right team in place, and the right people that look at you, respect you, they're disciplined in what they do. Like, how do you create that culture? Or how did you create that culture?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's probably like the biggest difference too between like scaling beyond $1 million is most of my problems now are like hiring, management, right? People management, it's people problems. And it's like finding really good people, because that's like the only way to keep growing is to get really good people in place. And I think a lot of that has to do with what you just talked about earlier, is like creating opportunities that are there for them that are not available in other places, right? That your vision has to be big enough that their vision fits inside it. And so I think, just looking at in the personal training industry, for example, the hours are typically pretty terrible. Like you got to be there early in the morning and then late in the evening, because that's when the clients are there, right? Mm-hmm. Before work, after work. And so, it's long days where, you've got clients in the morning, then you kind of got nothing in the middle of the day, then you got to go back in the evening, got to be back early in the morning the next day. So it's kind of all over the place. Most of the time for personal trainers, if they're working at like a big box gym, it's a competitive environment where it's like you against all the other trainers there competing for the same clients.
I've literally witnessed that a lifetime.
Yeah. I mean,
they're like vultures.
Yeah. It's basically, and the support that you get from the company is like, hey, okay, you're a trainer. Oh, you got certified. Okay, cool. You're hired. Like you get $5 an hour to go walk the floor, find your own clients. Here's a list of some people that we got. You can call them, try to get people, and like away you go and figure it out. Mm-hmm. Versus like for us, it's like, oh, you don't have to do any of the marketing. We're going to get all of the clients for you. We're going to teach you. I'm going to teach you how to sell. And then I'm going to like fill your schedule. Your schedule is going to be optimized to where you're working basically like a 40-hour work week on location, where you work like 3 mornings and then 2 evenings. You get weekends off. You have like a salaried position, so you have stable income. You have profit sharing bonus structure where you're going to get, as the gym makes more money, you make more money. So you can make 80 to 100 grand a year as a personal trainer. And like you've got benefits, you got PTO, you've got all of these things that typically you're not going to get as a person. So you create like a compensation package. You create a lifestyle that is like livable for them, like mm-hmm. not only from a financial perspective, but like just waking up every single day. It's not like, oh, I'm going to bed at 11 o'clock at night because my last client was 9 p.m. and then I got to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because my first client's at 5, and like I have to do that every single day, and it's unsustainable. I'm not sure where my next paycheck's coming from, and what happens if 5 of my clients decide that they're going to stop. Like you eliminate all those problems and you create just like a super compelling opportunity. And what happens with that is that allows us to now recruit the top client. They're the top personal trainers from mm-hmm. Lifetime, from Equinox, where they say, hey, like I'm making pretty good money here, but my hours suck. I have no consistent income. It's all over the place. Like, mm-hmm. Summer comes or holidays and half my clients leave, and now I don't know where I'm going to get money from. And it's like, we solve all of those problems for you. And if you have a really big vision and you want to keep growing, like we're building this huge company that is going to have opportunities for you to grow even beyond that director role, where you can move into a regional director or a national director of sales or training or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And so for like those hyper ambitious people, you have this huge growth path where you can make a lot of money, have like a job that you're proud of, and like be able to continue to grow. And that's something that is not really available like in the training industry in other places that you would work. And so I think really creating those opportunities that aren't there for other people is one of the best ways to recruit the best talent. And that's what we've been doing over the last couple of years. Man.
And I think just knowing the personal training industry, because my cousin got into it before he got into the restaurant industry, it's like they're not making anything coming out of college. Sure. And you go for certifications and all this stuff, and you get a degree, and you're lucky if you get a job making 40 grand a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the other thing is that, most of the directors that I have that work for me all want to like own their own gym one day, is like their ambition. And it's like, well, the average studio owner, gym owner makes like 35 grand a year and, works 80 hours a week. And, most of their trainers that work for them make more money. So it's like, I don't know that you want to sign up for that job. Yeah. And it's like, well, you can make 3 times as much and have stable income, and you don't have to worry about marketing and where am I going to get my next paycheck from, or all of these things. We solve all of those problems for you. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'd rather do that. Like, it's like, yeah. I wanted to own my gym, but now that I see what it's like, and I could do this instead, like this is way better.
Now that I see the numbers and the statistics, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy, man. And it's like, what was I going to ask? Oh, so when you guys, because you're at 6 locations, how do you guys treat the marketing? Is it all through Conquer itself, or is it like separate locations and directors are handling marketing, or is it like, how does that work?
I handle all the marketing I'm like head of all the marketing, but then like I have an agency that I use like that handles like the marketing for our paid ads, our social media ads and stuff like that. So, you know, the majority of our marketing comes from paid social. I would say probably at least 80-90% of our leads come from paid ads, primarily on Meta. And but I'm like, one of the things that I always encourage other gym owners that I talk to them about a lot is, even if you're working with an agency, if you want to get good results, like you have to know marketing and you have to take an active approach in running your marketing. Yeah. So what happens is, like, a lot of gym owners that are not doing well, what they do is they hire an agency and they're like, oh, like I'm not getting leads, or the leads are crappy, or whatever it might be. And then, but like they're not taking any ownership of like what ads are running, the creative that's being used, any of that stuff. They just expect the agency to do everything for them and just fill them with leads.
I've been there.
And good lead. And it's like, for me, it's like the agency that I work with, like I do a call with them once a week and we go through all of like what's happening at every single location, what ads are we running, if we want to change like the offer, change the creative, anything like that. Like, what are our CPLs at right now? Like, do we need to make adjustments to ad budget, to targeting, anything like that? And like, we're doing a deep dive meeting every Tuesday, but then we have an ongoing Slack channel with them where we're in there every single day, like saying, hey, we need to adjust this. Like, we've had this happen over the last, week. We've had, of the 40 leads that we've gotten at this location, 17 of them like only spoke Spanish. So like something's wrong with our targeting. We need to make some adjustments, whatever it might be. Where most of the time people hire an agency and then like every couple months they're like, hey, like the ads are not that good. Like we're not getting leads.
And there's so many different variables to it too. Like we work with a lot of companies for advertising channels, and they'll get a bunch of leads. Like for example, like we launched a campaign. They got 25 qualified, 75 unqualified. The first thing they said was, oh, why is so many unqualified leads? But they're not thinking about the numbers. One, if you land one of those clients, you're paying back your ad spend and some. If you land 2, now you got a 1 to 3, right?
Sure.
If you land 4 or 5 of those guys, that's like a 1 to 10 ROAS, right?
Yeah.
That's one. And then the second thing is like, this is why I think coming up and the direct response marketing is key, and sales is key. I think having to get out of your comfort zone and trying to pitch people that don't know you whatsoever, don't know your company exists, is a super crucial skill to learn in the beginning, because a lot of the times it's the leads are good, the systems are good, but you might just not know how to fucking sell.
100%.
Right? And
for sure.
So there's so many variables to, when the client walks into the door, like, how are you greeting them? Are you in a bad mood? Are you saying the wrong things? You sit them down through a consultation. Like, how are you pitching it? Are you, like you said before, are you pitching it with, oh, we have the best equipment? Or, hey, tell me a little bit about like what you've been going through. Like, what have you tried doing to solve this problem in the past? And really trying to uncover what they're going through and how you can solve that problem.
For
right?
sure.
And that's why, like, I think taking, the sales aspect of it and growing your business from the ground up, I think advertising should come way later down the line.
For sure.
When you're ready for it. Because if you don't have those systems in place, it doesn't matter how many, like I say it all the time with a lot of businesses that have been, that we've been working with recently. It's just, I can flood you with leads, but if you're not ready for it, like if your systems are broken, if your sales process is shitty, like for sure. You're just going to throw money down the drain,
100%. I mean, especially not only like you're talking about when it comes to sales, like the sales process itself, even outside of the actual getting somebody on the phone and what it is that you're saying to them, or meeting with them in person, doing a consultation, just literally the follow-up process. I mean, there's tons of businesses that have zero follow-up process,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like they get a lead and it's like, oh, well, like we usually will call them like within the first week. And it's like, and then what? Well, if they don't answer, then that's it. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, no, you need to call them within the first hour for sure, 100%.
100%.
And then like you should have some type of like automated CRM process where like if they opt in, they're getting a text message within the first minute.
Yeah.
You should be calling them right away. If they don't answer, you continue to follow up. Like, what is your follow-up process over the next 3, 7, 14, 21 days look
100%.
like? Is it call, voicemail, text, email, all of the above? What is the ratio in which you're doing those things?
Well, they always say that you also, like, to add to that is 3% of your customers are ready to buy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then your next, like, 60% of customers, because the last 30% will never buy, but the next 60% of customers, they're in information search mode, so they might not buy for between 100 days and 100 weeks, right?
For sure. Yeah.
So that's 2 years of marketing.
Yep.
That you gotta that one day they might just
100%.
raise their hand and say, "Hey, I'm ready to do it now."
For sure.
Right? So there's so many factors to it, and people just they don't understand that, and they think that it's a 1-for-1. If I put in $5,000 into ad budget, you know, I'm gonna get like $70,000 back. Right?
Well, I think just going back to something that you mentioned earlier too, I think is really important, where you said, like, I don't think that like beginner business owners should like advertise right away. Like, I know you're talking about like paid advertising, and they should like learn the sales process and do all of that first. 100% agree, because I know one of the things that I see, which is frustrating to me, is like even seeing some of the follow-up process from my different locations with directors or appointment setters or whatever it might be, is we do a really good job. We have a robust process, but at the same time, when I opened and I wasn't running any paid ads or anything like that, you know, I have a website and stuff like that, and I'm doing like, you know, cold DM on Instagram or whatever it is, like just trying, if I got a lead, like I'm following up with them until the end of time,
100%.
you know? So I mean, like,
until they say no.
well, because the thing is, like, it's like now I think, you know, they're spoiled because we're getting, you know, 20, 30, 40 leads a week per location, where I was getting 3 leads a month, right? So I mean, like, that person, I'm spending all of my time trying to get them to become a client, right?
Yeah.
Because like they are so valuable to me. So like the value of every lead intrinsically is so much higher as a business owner when you only have 5 leads instead of 500.
And there's different leads too.
Yeah.
Like different avatars. Like, I'll give you an example too. I'm sorry for cutting you off,
No, you're
but
good.
it's like in the merchants cash advance industry that we help a lot of clients with. Somebody that's making $50,000 in revenue might be like, you may be able to communicate with them like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people online that like show how much commission they're making. They fund somebody for $1 million. It's like $100,000 commission, all this stuff. And a lot of business owners want to get there and be like, oh, I want to do those $1 million fucking funded deals and stuff, right? But they don't realize that, like, the first thing they go is if the leads are not like responding or whatever. Oh, the leads suck. They're shitty. Like, they're not good leads. Think about the difference between somebody that's, and this could go for the gym too.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the difference if you get a family, a father, let's say of 2 with a wife, and they have a nice house, nice whatever. He's making $150,000 a year. He has a job. That person might be able to be communicated with like within minutes, right? Answer a phone call, answer a text on his hours off or day off or a weekend,
Sure.
versus somebody that's making $300,000 in revenue, $1 million in revenue. That's a busy business owner like you and me, because you definitely have clients that are business owners. Do you think they're going to answer the phone right away? Like they've never seen that number before. Yeah. And that person might take 15 touch points before they actually answer the phone. And that's what people don't understand. They call once, twice, 3 times, and then they're like, oh, well, they're not answering. Oh, well, did you try email? Yeah. Did you try text message?
For sure.
Did you try reaching out to them? You know, did another rep try reaching out to them? Right. Those are the things that you got to think about as a salesperson. Is it's until they answer or they tell you to go fuck off.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're just
100%.
letting it go, like, that's it. You're letting the lead go. Like,
and like, I mean, perfect example of that, like multiple channels. Like we have a client at my first gym who like basically only communicates through email. And it's because of that. He runs like $100 million company and he's super busy. And he's like, don't call me, don't text me. You're not going to get anything from me. But like to book his appointments, he just communicates through email.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but think about if he comes in as a lead initially and you're calling, you're texting, no response, you just let him go. It's okay, well now, because we realize he wants to communicate through email, he's been a client for whatever, 4 years, probably spent $50,000. And it's like, that's $50,000 you never see
100%.
Because you decide, oh, well, it's a shitty lead.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't respond.
That makes me so mad, dude. Like people don't I think it's just reframing it. They just have to go through it. Like,
for sure.
I think the best piece of advice I've ever listened to was, it's until they say yes or until they say no.
For sure.
Or until they say yes maybe or they say no, right? So it's I'm going to keep calling. You opted in.
Yeah.
So obviously you have a problem that I need to solve.
100%.
So I'm going to keep calling until I get a no from you. And if I don't get a no from you and I get a maybe, that's good enough. And if I get a yes, that's great, right? And it's constant prospecting, constant follow-up, and making sure that, like, on our L10 meeting, I have a to-do. We create the to-do every week, Monday follow-ups. Like Monday morning I come in, every lead that's ever came through our door, whether it's a referral, somebody that came through Instagram, somebody that came through a website or whatever it is, it's through email. I'm literally taking that list and I'm calling and I'm making sure I try to reach out to them. And sometimes you got to be creative with it. Like this one person that I was dealing with, like they wanted a proposal and all this stuff. A week went by, no answer. I texted them like 3 times in a week because I didn't want to be pushy because we're already in talks about doing business.
Sure.
And then like it just left on red. And then finally, like that Monday came and I was just like, I just tried to change the tone. Like I was just, I still said, hey, following up, if you have any questions, if it's a financial concern or whatever, just let me know. We can work with you guys, like, and we can start at a good starting point. And all I did was I said, by the way, hope you're having a great week so far for the start of Monday. Like it just, instead of just saying, just about the business, and maybe it doesn't, it doesn't work on every single try, but I just try to create just one little change and say, like, make it about her too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then she just responded, hey, we haven't got a chance to look at it yet, but we're meeting this Friday about it. So I'm like, sure. Cool. Okay, cool. So there needs to be different language changes and shifts, and you're dealing with different people, so not everybody's the same, right? The script doesn't work for every single person the same way it's going to work.
And I think one thing with lead follow-up is you want to push them towards a decision, kind of like what you were saying before, and it's okay to push people towards no.
Because then you don't have to waste your time anymore.
Exactly. Because, I mean, you think about it, if you've got 50 leads that you got to follow up with, and 37 of them have not responded yet, it's like, well, you should keep following up with those 37 until you get an answer. Now, if you're like trying to like beat around the bush and try to like make sure that, they're still potentially going to come in, but they might not be interested at all. Mm-hmm. Like you're just creating more follow-up process for you for somebody who's not going to be a client versus instead it's okay to push them to no and just say like, hey, look, I don't want to bother you anymore, but like, usually after 2 weeks of following up with somebody, if I haven't heard back, usually it just means that they're not interested. If that's the case for you, that's totally fine. Like, just let me know either way. Mm-hmm. Something where it's like you're pushing them towards no, to just say like, hey, it's okay if it's a no, and it's also okay if it's a no for now, and like, can you follow up with me in 2 months?
And you know what the craziest part about that line that you just said?
Yeah.
I usually get the answers back right from there.
100%.
It's the craziest shit ever. Yeah. Like I'll literally say like one of the guys that we're onboarding right now, I kept messaging them. They wanted to work with us, then they ghost us, then they want to work with us, and they ghost us. And I finally just was like, look, dude, like I want to work with you guys, and I know you guys want to be quick and spend money and do all this stuff. Like I'm ready to go, but I just need to know, like, if you guys don't want to do this, like, I'll just stop reaching out because I don't want to bother you anymore.
For sure.
And then, because he was ghosting me for like 3 weeks, like just wouldn't answer a text. And then finally he responded, just like, no, dude, like, you know, we're just been so busy. Like, we're game, like, send over the proposals, like, sorry, whatever. It's like, and I think it goes down to a lead at that very moment, right? Because, you know, we're you know, we're emotional driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that moment, you're asking them, like, make this decision. Do you want to be better, or do you want to go back to what you were doing before?
Sure.
Right? And it's just simply by saying, hey, do you want to do this, or do you not want to do this? I'll stop bothering you.
Yeah.
And when they have to, it's like throwing the ball in their court now.
Yeah.
It's like, if I say no, then I'm going to be the person that I've been for the last 5 years, right? Versus like, okay, maybe I just answer them now. Because sometimes it's like, people are just, you know, they're in their own heads. They might feel embarrassment. They might feel like, you know, they're not going to be able to do it, or something's not going to work. Maybe they need more information. Like, you don't know. So just by creating that little pivot, you know, and saying, like, you know, I'm going to stop wasting your time or whatever, what you're doing is you're creating a certain decision. It's, you know, Kyle always says it. It's black or white. So when you put them in that position, it's, oh, fuck, I got to make a decision now.
For sure.
Right? So.
And I think the only other thing that I'll mention, just as far as lead follow-up, is I know psychologically a lot of employees that I've had that are doing lead follow-up get in their own head when they're getting a lot of people that are either not answering the phone, not returning their calls, and they're like, man, like, it's super frustrating because I feel like I just keep calling and texting these people. I'm not getting a response. Mm-hmm. Or like, they do pick up and they're like, oh, I'll call you back later. And then I never hear from them again. And they're like, I don't want to keep following up. I don't want to be a nuisance, whatever. And like, what I always try to tell them is, like, I always try to not blame like the situation on somebody like not being interested, when it could easily be explained for them just being busy. And like, especially for our client population, our client avatar is going to be like, you know, moms and dads 40 plus. So what I say is, like, the image that I have in my head every single time I'm doing lead follow-up, if I was doing lead follow-up with somebody when I was doing it, is a mom who picks up the phone and then her 5-year-old is like jumping off the couch about to like break his neck, you know? And it's like, that's what I'm picturing. So if you call somebody and they're like rushing you off the phone, like, I have that image in my head instead of like the person's like, oh, like just being an asshole. Like, oh yeah, I'll call you later. Like, I don't want to talk to you. Right. Yeah. And it's like, think about like you said before, like, these people raise their hand. Like, we're not cold outbound. Like, these are people who have opted in on an ad that said like, yes, I'm interested in your service.
I have a problem and I'm interested.
Yes, I'm interested. So like, it's our duty to follow up with them until they say, no, I'm no longer interested. And more often than not, like, these people are just busy. Like, they've just got shit going on.
100%.
And like, we just need to catch them at the right time. So just keep following up. And then, you know, occasionally you're going to get the person that's like, oh my God, you're so annoying. Stop bothering me. It's like, okay, great. Now we move on to the next one. But you're going to get a ton of people who are like, thank you so much for continuing to follow up with me. Like, I've wanted to reach out to you guys. I've wanted to, you know, answer your text, but every single time the next thing happens, you know, I have to run and take my kid to soccer practice. I totally forget about it. Yeah. And it's like, thank you so much for following up with me. I really need this thing. And then you solve that problem for them and they're super grateful. So
one of the best insights I ever I don't know if I heard it from somewhere or just came up with it in my own head, but we all think we're the center of attention, and that's why sometimes things feel embarrassing. But at the end of the night, and I think this helps me with entrepreneurship a lot, is at the end of the night, when everybody goes to sleep and people put their head on the pillow, they're not thinking, you know, I wonder if owner's financially stable. I wonder if he's okay. I wonder if he's not dealing with any problems right now. I'm sure, you know what I mean? Like, they're not thinking about you, right? Sure. So to get over that fear of people being assholes or, you know, shooing you off the phone, it's like, it's actually way easier. You're on the phone. Like, you're never gonna, you don't know what that person looks like. Sure. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they're from, right? Maybe you do know where they're from with the lead flow, but you're never gonna see that person in your life. So what, like, just by taking the extra step, what's the best thing that could happen? They're gonna come and become a client,
Sure.
right? And you're gonna change their life for the better. So that's one thing that I shifted in my entrepreneurial perspective, and not just for like the client side, but just hanging out with I have best friends and four of them, but we see each other from time to time, and growing up and just being at the age that I'm at now, it's I was partying on the weekends and going out and doing this and doing that, and when you get into the entrepreneurial world, it's like, guess what, dude? You want to get into this shit? No one's coming to save you.
For sure.
So if you sit here all day and do bullshit, guess what's going to happen with your business? There's going to be bullshit.
For sure.
So if you want the results, you got to figure out how to get there. And if that means knocking on doors, if that means cold calling people, if that means figuring out a marketing machine and figuring out how to create a flow for advertising, like, figure it out. Like that's I think entrepreneurship is just all problem solving.
For
you
sure.
know what I mean? And I think the beauty comes in with that, building something and figuring out different things, employing people, being a leader. Like it's all fun stuff. Like you're the reason why people have a job and a living and are happy, and it's like it's the best feeling in the world.
It
right?
is. It is for sure.
And I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast, and this has been awesome. We'll do a part 2. I want you to leave the audience, with our small little audience right now, with one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever received and how it impacted you.
Oh man, that's a tough question. Best piece of advice. I would say one of the best pieces of advice is probably just remembering, especially, obviously this is talking to entrepreneurs, small business owners and stuff like that, remembering why you got into this space and why you decided to pursue this path, especially in those hard days when things are not going the way that you expected. Because I think that there's always going to be, the entrepreneurial journey is one that is filled with a lot of lonely nights, lonely days, a lot of internal reflection on, like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, why did I decide to do this? This is the dumbest thing ever. And I think at the end of the day, it's really important to, like, look back and think about, like, your internal motivation of, like, why did you even go down this path in the first place, and keep that top of mind on those hard days to push through. Because I think one of the things that I would say to get to probably the better point, a thing that I'm experiencing and a conversation that I'm having in my own head right now, is that in stages of entrepreneurship, the competition only gets smaller as you continue to grow. And it gets smaller for a reason, because it's a lot harder. So like even if you just think about simple math, right? Let's say stage 1, there's 100 people in the room that all start a business. And it's like, well, how many make it by the end of the year? Maybe it's only 50. Now it's like, now you're only competing against 49 people. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, now how many people, let's say, turn that business into a successful business? They make $1 million a year or whatever. It's like, okay, now it's only 25. And it's like, now you're only competing against 24 people. Mm-hmm. Because, like, the other people just thought it was way too hard to keep going. And now it's like, okay, now we want to turn this into a $10 million business. How many are left there? Now it's only 12. Now you're only competing against 11 other people, right? And it's like, at each stage it gets exponentially harder, but as it gets exponentially harder, like, the competition is actually less, because there's so many less people willing to continue the journey. And, like, that's the conversation I've been having in my own head right now as I'm, like, reaching this next stage of business, that it's so much harder. It's like, it feels like you're starting over all over again. Mm-hmm. And it's because you kind of are, but you're starting all over with a lot less people. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot less people that are willing to continue the journey to the next step. And so I think that is it's like a really good internal visual. Like I really enjoy visual imagery, especially when I'm projecting out, things that I want to do and stuff like that. I'm really big into visualization, but I like just the visual picture of like thinking about millions of, hundreds of millions of people in this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how many people decide to become business owners? And it's like, shh. And then you go down to like a few million people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, how many are still in business after 1 year? And then it's like even less. And then how many are still in business after 5 years, right? And then how many make it to 1 million? How many make it to 5 million? How many make it to 10? How many make it to 100, right?
I think it's like, I might be butchering this, but it's anywhere between like 90 to 99% of businesses go out of business within the first 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's over 90% within the first 5 years, for sure.
And if you just think about that,
the
fact that you're still here is crazy.
Yeah, and I think and I know I've heard Alex Ramosi talk about this before in the past too, like thinking of business as an infinite game, and that like the goal of business is to stay in business, not to like win business, because like there is like winning is continuing to be in business. Yeah. And like obviously we want to continue to grow to the next step, but if you think about that and you're like, if I just don't stop, if I just don't quit,
100%,
I'm gonna win.
100%.
And like that's all you got to do.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. We'll definitely have a second one with Okan next time.
Yeah, for sure.
He's living it up in Italy right now.
Sounds good. Awesome.
But thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, and we're always going to be giving you the best insights in marketing, entrepreneurship, sales, whatever you guys ask for in the comments. Where can they find you?
On Instagram, Dr. John Dougherty, DrJohn Dougherty. That's probably the easiest way.
Cool. Thanks.